All right, so today we're diving into this paper by John Kitchen, all about making scientific data sharing easier.
Right.
And it's from 2015, but some of his ideas still feel really cutting edge.
Absolutely.
You know, just imagine having a research paper where the data's right there, ready to use.
Right.
No more digging around for supplementary materials or emailing authors.
Yeah.
That's the kind of world Kitchen is trying to build.
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head.
Right.
Back in 2015, funding agencies like the NSF and NIH were really starting to push for data sharing.
Okay.
But no one knew quite how to do it effectively.
So scientists were kind of being told, share your data.
Yes.
But left to figure it out on their own.
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
And it wasn't a simple problem.
Yeah.
Data in science can be anything from simple numbers to huge files from simulations, which traditional papers weren't built to handle.
That makes sense. Yeah. So instead of waiting for like a perfect system to appear, what does Kitchen propose we do like right now?
Yeah, he suggests we start by using the tools we already have in clever ways. He even has this idea of hiding data in plain sight. Using PDF files.
Wait, hiding data in PDFs?
Yeah.
How does that even work?
It's pretty ingenious, actually. Imagine you're reading a paper and you see a graph.
Yeah.
Kitchen suggests attaching the raw data behind that graph. Maybe as a CSV or JSON file. Directly to the PDF itself. It's like a hidden compartment full of valuable information.
So anyone who downloads the PDF also gets this bonus data treasure chest.
Yes, and what's really cool is that anyone can extract this data using readily available tools.
Wow.
Kitchen even gives step-by-step instructions in the paper.
Wow.
It's like giving readers a key to unlock the full potential of the research.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But wouldn't those files get insanely large?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Especially for really complex research?
For those massive data sets, Kitchen recommends using external data repositories. Think of them like digital libraries specifically for scientific data. They assign unique IDs called DOIs, which are like permanent addresses so the data can always be found and cited.
So it's like having a backup library.
Exactly.
For the really big stuff.
Yeah.
While the PDF still holds the key findings and the smaller data sets.
Precisely. It gives researchers flexibility depending on the size and complexity of their data.
Makes sense.
This raises an important question, though. How do we choose the best method for sharing data? What are the trade-offs to consider?
That is something to think about.
Yeah.
It seems like Kitchen is really encouraging us to be creative.
Yes.
And resourceful.
Totally.
But he doesn't stop at hiding data files, does he?
No, he doesn't.
He also talks about embedding data directly within the text of the paper itself.
Yes.
How is that even possible?
This is where he introduces something called org mode. Imagine a super-powered scientific notebook on your computer where you can store data, code, and regular text all together. That's essentially what org mode is.
Now, I have to admit, when I first heard about org mode, I thought it sounded pretty niche.
I understand.
Is it really practical for scientists who aren't coding whizzes?
There's definitely a learning curve. I won't sugarcoat it. But I think the benefits are worth it. Especially for people who work with a lot of data and code. What makes org mode so powerful is that it's readable by both humans and machines.
Wait, so you're telling me a computer can understand my messy research notes?
Well, not quite your messy notes. But imagine having tables in your paper that software can directly analyze. No more copying and pasting data between programs. It's all right there.
You've officially piqued my curiosity.
Good.
I'm starting to see how org mode could be a game changer.
Yeah.
Kitchen mentions other tools too, right?
Yes, he does.
Like those used for coding and simulations.
He talks about tools like MATLAB notebooks and Jupyter as well.
Okay.
They all share this idea of integrating data and code into the scientific workflow,
right,
making it easier to reproduce and build upon research.
So he's really advocating for a fundamental shift in how we think about scientific publishing.
100%.
It's not just about the paper itself,
right,
but about creating a living, breathing document that contains the whole research story.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
What if research papers themselves became learning tools for better data management?
Wow.
Imagine being able to not only read about a study, but also interact with the data and code behind it.
Right.
It could really transform how we learn and collaborate.
That's an awesome vision.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about how to share data, but what about standardizing data formats?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that make everything much smoother?
It seems intuitive, right?
Yeah, like if everyone agreed to use the same type of file. Wouldn't that solve a lot of problems?
But Kitchen actually argues against waiting for a one-size-fits-all standard.
Really?
Yeah.
I would have thought standardization would be the key.
Yeah.
What's his reasoning there?
He worries that trying to force a single standard too early could actually stifle innovation.
Okay.
His view is start sharing now, even if it's a little messy.
Right.
As more researchers share data, the most useful formats will naturally emerge over time.
So let the best format win, kind of like a scientific survival of the fittest.
Exactly.
That's a fascinating perspective.
Whoa.
But what about those centralized databases we talked about earlier?
Yeah.
Does he think they have a role to play?
He does.
Okay.
But with a bit of a twist.
Right.
While acknowledging their value,
Uh-huh.
he suggests they might be most effective when focused on specific research areas.
Okay.
He envisions domain-specific experts curating these databases, ensuring the data is properly organized and contextualized.
It's like having specialist librarians for scientific data.
Exactly.
People who really understand the nuances of their field.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's about recognizing that data is most valuable when it's presented in a way that's meaningful and usable to researchers in that specific domain.
Okay. We've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
It seems like Kitchen is really challenging us to rethink how we approach data in science.
Totally.
But this paper is almost 10 years old now.
Right.
Have any of his ideas actually caught on?
That's a great question, and the answer is a bit of both.
Okay.
We've definitely seen progress in data sharing since 2015. Data repositories are more common.
Right.
And there have been some standardization efforts.
Okay.
But Kitchen's full vision, where data is seamlessly integrated and easily shareable, is still very much a work in progress.
So his ideas were ahead of their time, but we're slowly starting to catch up.
I think that's a fair assessment.
Yeah.
The scientific community is still figuring out the best way to manage and share data.
Yeah.
But Kitchen's insights continue to be relevant and thought-provoking even today.
This has been a really eye-opening look at Kitchen's work.
It has.
Before we move on,
okay,
is there anything else from the first part of the paper that you think our listeners should know?
I think the main takeaway is that data sharing is no longer optional.
Right.
It's crucial for scientific progress.
Absolutely.
And Kitchen gives us some really creative, practical ways to start doing it better.
Yeah.
Even with the tools we have available right now.
Right.
We don't need to wait for some perfect system to appear before we start making a difference.
I love that.
Yeah.
He's empowering us to take action.
Absolutely.
All right. So in this first part of the paper, Kitchen lays out the problem and gives us some really creative solutions.
Yeah.
But he also goes into a lot of detail about specific examples.
Right.
And how to actually implement these ideas.
He does.
Let's unpack those next.
Sounds good. One thing that really struck me was how Kitchen, walked through concrete examples of embedding data.
Yeah.
He even used a paper on hydrogen adsorption onto metal alloys.
Okay.
To show exactly how it's done.
Okay, break that down for me.
Sure.
What kind of data are we talking about here, and how do they actually embed it?
Well, think about the kind of information you'd need to reproduce a study like that.
Okay.
You'd want to know the exact types of metal alloys they used, right? And the precise parameters of their calculations.
Okay.
Kitchen and his co-authors stored all that in a file format called JSON, which is both human-readable and machine-readable.
Hold on, machine-readable?
Yeah.
You mean a computer can understand this JSON stuff?
Exactly. It's a way to structure data.
Okay.
So that software can process it easily.
Gotcha.
They embedded this JSON file, which contained tons of details about their calculations, right into the PDF of their paper.
So it's like giving other researchers the entire recipe for their experiment.
Exactly.
Could someone actually take that file and reproduce their results?
That's exactly what Kitchen demonstrates.
Wow.
He shows how anyone with basic programming skills could use that JSON file to pull out the info needed to recreate their calculations.
Wow. Talk about transparency.
It's incredible.
It seems like he's going above and beyond what most researchers were doing at the time.
He really emphasizes that data sharing isn't just about dumping files somewhere. Yeah. It's about making that data understandable and usable by others.
Right.
It's like the difference between giving someone a box of Lego bricks versus giving them the bricks and the instructions to build something amazing.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
So far, we've been talking a lot about computational data.
Right.
I know Kitchen also mentions sharing experimental data.
He does.
Does he give any examples of how to do that?
He does. He even shows how data from experimental techniques like spectroscopy can be embedded right into the PDF.
Oh, wow.
The basic principle is the same.
Okay.
Attach the relevant data files,
right.
Explain clearly what they contain,
Gotcha.
And make it simple for others to access and use them.
So no matter what kind of scientist you are,
right,
there's a way to share your data.
Exactly.
Did Kitchen run into any limitations?
He's very realistic about the challenges.
Okay.
He acknowledges that PDFs aren't ideal for storing absolutely massive data sets.
Yeah.
And in those cases, external repositories are still the way to go.
Okay.
But even then, he stresses how important it is to link those repositories back to the paper itself, creating a clear connection between the published research and the underlying data.
It's like he's envisioning a world where data is woven into the fabric of science.
Exactly.
Not just an afterthought.
And he really gets into the nitty-gritty of how to make that happen.
Okay.
Remember org mode, that superpowered notebook we discussed?
Wait.
He actually shares examples of how he uses it in his own research to manage data and code.
Okay. I have to admit, I'm still a little intimidated by org mode.
Yeah.
Did you find it difficult to use?
I'll be honest.
Okay.
There is a learning curve.
Yeah.
It's not as visually intuitive as some other tools out there.
Right.
But the more I use it, the more I appreciate its power.
Okay.
It's like having a central hub for all my research, where I can keep everything organized and connected.
You'd say it's worth the effort to learn.
Absolutely. Especially if you're working with a lot of data and code.
Okay.
The way org mode lets you keep everything together and easily generate reports is a game changer.
Yeah.
Plus, it's free and open source, which is always a bonus.
All right, you've convinced me.
Good.
I'm adding learn org mode to my to-do list.
Awesome.
So coming back to Kitchen's paper.
Okay.
He argues that these data sharing methods could lead to a much more open and collaborative scientific community. Do you think he's right?
I think he's spot on. When we make data more accessible and reusable, we break down the walls between researchers and create opportunities for new collaborations.
Yeah.
It's like opening the doors to a giant scientific brainstorming session.
And it's not just for scientists either.
Right.
Think about the potential benefits for educators, students, policymakers, really anyone who wants to engage with scientific research.
Exactly. Open data has the power to democratize knowledge and make scientific discoveries more impactful for everyone.
That's really inspiring.
Yeah.
What would you say is the most exciting aspect of Kitchen's work?
For me, it's the boldness of his vision.
Okay.
He's not just tinkering around the edges. He's proposing a fundamental shift in how we think about data in science.
Yeah.
He's challenging us to move from a culture of data hoarding to a culture of data sharing where knowledge flows freely.
And everyone benefits.
That's a powerful message.
Yeah.
He's showing us that we don't need to wait for some grand top-down solution to start sharing data.
Exactly.
We can start making a difference right now using the tools and resources we already have.
It's a call to action for all of us. To embrace the principles of open science.
Yes.
And work towards a future where data is truly accessible, reusable, and transformative.
Well said. We've explored a lot of Kitchen's ideas about how to practically implement data sharing.
We have.
But he also takes a step back and looks at the bigger picture, He examines the philosophical and cultural shifts needed to make open science a reality.
Totally.
Let's dive into those ideas next.
Sounds good.
Okay, so we've talked about like specific tools and techniques. But Kitchen goes beyond that.
Yeah.
He argues that truly unlocking scientific data requires a change in mindset, a shift towards embracing open science principles. He's absolutely right.
Okay.
It's not just about the technical how-to. It's about fostering a culture where data sharing is the norm, not the exception.
One thing he emphasizes is the importance of sharing not just data, but also the code used to analyze that data. Why is that so crucial?
Well, think of it like this. The data is the ingredients, but the code is the recipe. Sharing both allows others to understand exactly how you arrived at your results. It's like giving them a behind-the-scenes look at your scientific process.
So it's about transparency and reproducibility.
Exactly.
Someone wants to verify your findings or even like build upon your work,
yes,
they need to see the whole picture.
Precisely. And this level of openness can lead to more robust and reliable science.
Makes sense.
It allows for better scrutiny of methods, identification of potential errors, and even suggestions for improvements.
It sounds like a win-win for everyone involved.
Absolutely.
But I imagine some researchers might be hesitant to share their code.
Sure.
It can feel very personal.
Yeah, I understand that feeling.
Like sharing a piece of your creative process.
But I think the benefits of sharing far outweigh the perceived risks. When we share our code, we're not just sharing our methods. We're sharing our knowledge and expertise.
Right.
It's an act of generosity that can help others learn and grow.
And it can also help us as researchers.
Absolutely.
Having more eyes on our code can help us catch errors we might have missed.
It's like having a team of collaborators all working to ensure the quality and accuracy of our research.
So sharing code benefits science as a whole.
Yes.
Helps us improve our own work.
Yes.
And fosters a spirit of collaboration.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard to argue with that.
It is.
Kitchen doesn't shy away from the challenges of shifting to an open science mindset, though.
He acknowledges that there are cultural barriers.
And even institutional hurdles to overcome.
Okay.
For example, the traditional academic reward system often prioritizes individual achievement over collaboration and data sharing.
So we need to change not just individual mindsets, but also the systems that govern scientific research.
Exactly. Kitchen argues for a more holistic approach. Where data sharing is encouraged and rewarded at every level.
Right.
This might involve changes to how we fund research, evaluate scientists, and even teach the next generation of researchers.
It's a big challenge, but the potential rewards are huge.
They are. Imagine a world where scientific knowledge is freely shared.
Yeah.
Where collaboration is the norm. And where discoveries happen at an accelerated pace.
Wow.
That's the promise of open science.
That's a vision worth striving for.
Absolutely.
This deep dive into John Kitchen's paper has been incredibly thought-provoking.
It has.
We've explored some really creative solutions for data sharing.
We have.
From hiding data in PDFs.
Right. To using tools like org mode.
Yeah.
But even more importantly, we've examined the need for a cultural shift toward embracing open science principles.
I think Kitchen's work serves as a powerful reminder that data sharing is not just a technical issue, it's a cultural one.
Right.
And it's a challenge we all need to take ownership of.
So what are the key takeaways for our listener?
Right.
What can they do to start putting these ideas into practice?
First and foremost, embrace the spirit of open science.
Okay.
Start thinking about how you can make your data more accessible and reusable.
Right.
Explore tools like data repositories and org mode. And most importantly, be an advocate for change within your own research communities.
It's about taking small steps, but also pushing for systemic change.
Exactly.
We could all be part of building a more open and collaborative future for science.
We can.
Kitchen's paper, even though it's from 2015, shows us that the path forward is paved with both practical solutions and a willingness to embrace new ways of thinking.
Absolutely.
It's been a truly fascinating journey.
I agree. It's exciting to see how these ideas continue to resonate and inspire change within the scientific community.
Well, on that inspiring note, we'll wrap up this deep dive.
Sounds good.
Be sure to check out the show notes for links to Kitchen's paper and all the resources we discussed.
Great.
Until next time, keep those data flowing.